Hello again. I'm Jim Buford with another video on understanding insurance claims. Again, I ask you, if you like this video, please hit the subscribe button, and I plan on producing a lot of videos which I feel will be of benefit to insurance policyholders. One of the things we're going to look at today is what types of questions you might have after your insurance adjuster arrives on the scene. I think I've done a video on what questions you might have prior to the time that he arrives, but you have to realize when the adjuster comes, he's going to see things that he hasn't seen before. And regardless of how well things are described, there are going to be new things that he's not aware of, and I'm sure you will have questions that maybe you didn't think about prior or on your first contact with the adjuster. So these are some ideas, some things to keep in mind once he arrives on the scene. One of the things, and it's a common question, people, especially on significant damage, how soon will my estimate be completed? If the adjuster is going to prepare an estimate by himself, if my contractor is going to supply an estimate, if they're going to work jointly to come up with an estimate, how soon will that be accomplished? Depending on the size of the claim, it could be 1 day, 2 days, a week, or whatever. It just depends on the severity and extent of the damage. But these are questions that you need to keep in mind. And will the adjuster and contractor be in agreement once the estimate is complete so that they can go ahead and proceed with repairs? Who pays the contractor? Do I pay him? Does my insurance company pay him? What sort of arrangements are made? Does he expect all of the money up front? Does he expect a portion of it up front and maybe a draw before the work is completed and maybe a final payment? It depends on the contractor. Some contractors, some larger general contractors, unless it's an extremely large claim, they are content with just being paid after the work is completed. But these are some things that you need to clear up on the front end. And how is a claim paid? Does it just include my name on the check? Does it include my contractor's name? Does it include my mortgage company? Those are questions that need to be asked. And if the adjuster forgets to answer those questions or forgets to tell you about that, then those are questions that you need to ask. The quicker that those questions are answered, the better off it will be. And another question a lot of people have: if I sign a check, if I get a check and sign it, is that the same as a release? Under your homeowner's insurance policy, it's not, because you have contractual coverage, which means that the company owes you for repairs because of a covered loss. It's not like a liability claim where when you sign a release, you have released that company from any future payments, unless specified otherwise. But in this type of claim, you're not. You may get several claim checks in the course of the repairs, but signing a check, endorsing a check, and cashing it does not eliminate the company's responsibility to pay you everything that's due under your policy. And another thing is, who decides if a item can be cleaned, or if it can be repaired, or if it has to be replaced? Look at those questions. Think about those questions and look at the objects involved. Discuss those with your insurance adjuster, discuss those with the contractor, and be sure that they're in agreement as closely as possible. Many times an insurance company will say, well, let's see if we can clean that particular item, and then if we can't, we'll have to consider replacement. Just be aware that the insurance companies, if they think it's questionable, they may want to attempt to clean it and to restore it without replacement. But those are things that can be asked on the front end. Another thing is on floor covering. A lot of people will have the same floor covering throughout their home, and maybe they'll have got 2 or 3 rooms that are affected, and they want to know, will the insurance company pay to replace all of my floor covering to make it match? Typically they won't. Excuse me. Normally they're going to pay for the damaged areas. Now, if you have an open area such as a dining room, kitchen, living room, and the damage is confined to one of those rooms, but it's an open area where it's not blocked by a door, then typically the insurance companies will go into the other rooms, even though that particular floor covering is not effective. Maybe wallpaper. Those kinds of things that are questions that need to be answered, and you need to be sure that you ask those questions, because a lot of times insurance adjusters may assume that you know that and they're proceeding along that line and they forget to inform you. So be sure and ask those questions, and that way you won't be concerned later. You'll have the answers now when you really want them. And some people ask, can I upgrade? Do I have to go back with the same that I had, or can I upgrade my floor covering or whatever? You can usually upgrade. That's not a problem. But if you upgrade beyond what value you had at the time, then of course you would be responsible for the increased cost. Another thing that people ask, if they've got more than one roof on their home and the roof has to be replaced, maybe you have 3 roofs on your home. Does the insurance company pay to remove all of those roofs, or do they just pay to remove one? That varies with the insurance companies. Some will pay to take it down to the substrate, the wood decking or whatever, and others will just say we'll pay a proportion of the cost to remove the one roof, but we won't pay to remove all of those. Again, those are legitimate questions that you need to clear up on the front end. And another thing is, someone else is responsible for the damage. I've got to pay my deductible. It may be $500, $1,000 or more. If you collect from this other party, the responsible party, do I get my deductible back? That is normally that you do. I mean, it's typical that you will get your deductible back. That should not be a problem. Most insurance companies, if they can collect, they will pay you back whatever your expenses are, and if they collect all of the amount, then you get all of your expenses, your deductible or whatever back. But if they only collect a portion, then you'll get a pro rata share. But again, those are questions. And how do I send the check to my mortgage company? What will typically my mortgage company want? My mortgage company usually is going to want a copy of the estimate. They want to know what type of repairs and the extent of repairs. And many times they'll want to know that before they sign a check and send it back to the contractor and the homeowner, so that they can deposit it and they'll have some money there to draw on while repairs are being made. So those are questions you need to keep in mind. I want to stress, you can't ask a silly question. Ask any question you feel that you need to ask, that you don't have an answer to. That way, as things progress, you won't be confused and you won't say, well, we didn't discuss that, or I failed to ask that question. Think of all the questions that you have as a homeowner and be sure to ask those of your adjuster when he arrives on the scene. If you've already asked those, it won't hurt to reiterate. Be sure that you're on the same page when it comes to knowing exactly how things will be handled. Again, I hope that this has been of some help to you. And if you like this video, please hit the subscribe button. And one other caution: don't consider this list all inclusive. Be sure that if you have other questions, and they may appear to be very almost non-related, but if it's a question you have, a concern you have, it's worth addressing. So again, I thank you, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you.